We're now going to start looking at components, schematic symbols, and their conventions. Now, what you'll find is a lot of schematic symbols, the components in your drawings, are standard AutoCAD blocks with attributes that are associated with the database in the project. So let's have a look at those schematic symbols and their conventions. Now, before we do that, there are ways and means of checking the properties of a particular component in a schematic drawing. Now, I've loaded up some push button switches there, and there's some relay coils there as well. The relay coils are set to the NC state, normally closed, and the push buttons are just regular push buttons, PB001, PB002. Now, if I type the word properties in the drawing area, this will open up the properties palette when I press enter, and there it is there. I've docked it deliberately so that it's neat and tidy on the screen. If I now go and select that push button there, it'll show me that it's a block reference. And if I use the slider bar here and slide down, you can see, look, there's a whole shed load of attributes there that you would use. So you'll see that the block family is PB for push button. Contact is NO, normally open, rather than NC, normally closed. And there's also catalog data, manufacturer, location, description. All of this comes into when you insert the component in the first instance. Now, you can look at the properties this way. This is actually quite unwieldy now, though, but what you can do, I'll close the properties palette to get the screen back. With that push button selected, I'll right-click, and I can go to Attributes here on our little flashlight system. I can list edit like that, and there's all of the attributes there. If I tick Edit Attributes, I can go and edit them that way. If I select the push button again, right-click and go Attributes now, and just do Edit Attribute, I can pick the attribute I want to edit, in this case the tag, and I can go and edit that, and I can change that to, let's say, 3. Updates automatically, this one here. If I pick similar text and go for PB003 like that and OK it, it updates to 3. Press enter to finish. Now that is just a tag, so they can have the same tag. It's not an attribute that is physically driven by, say, the project settings or the drawing settings. So those are your schematic symbols and conventions, and what you've got to think about is when you're using all of these symbols, they are linked to the database, they are linked to the project, and they are linked to the drawing. So be aware of that. When you need to edit these particular symbols and conventions, make sure that you edit appropriately when you bring them into the drawing. So for example, if I bring a new symbol into the drawing, let's go for another relay or contact, for example. If I bring in something like a relay coil, and I'll drop that there like that. Make sure that you put all the information in here. So for example, we might want catalog data. We need to look that up. So that will go to the database now and look up all of the ones that are in the database library. So if I went for that one there, let's say, and I okayed that, and then okayed it again, it updates. And it says now, this drawing contains related components. They may no longer match the edited component. That's okay. We'll say yes, update. Updates the drawing, and there we are. Now you'll notice there's part of that there. It's come in there, so we need to make sure that that is linked together. Okay, so we might need to move that part of that particular attribute and bring it up here. Very easy to do. I can click there, right-click, attribute, and there's move attribute there. If I select that part of it there, like that, select object, click on it there, base point, I'll pick a point, and I can move the attribute. Can you see that? And it's all part of that attribute up there, that K1. So I'll just hit escape there because I don't want that to move, but you get the idea. So these conventions have to be adhered to when you're using your schematic symbols and conventions in your drawings in AutoCAD Electrical. So let's look now at our symbol data attributes. We're going to create our own symbol. First thing we do is we make sure that our drawing is added to the project like usual. I've created a new separate drawing, and I'm doing it subsequent again like I've done in previous sections in all the videos we've done so far. I'll add the active drawing and say yes to applying the project default values. So we'll right click, properties, drawing properties, make sure that sequentially we're numbering properly. Again, get into the habit of doing this, saves a lot of time later. Okay, so we've got symbol data attributes. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to make sure I'm using the 0 layer. Whenever you're creating new symbols, they are AutoCAD blocks. So create them on layer 0, and then when they come into the drawing, they go onto the appropriate layers that they need to go onto when you're using your layering system in AutoCAD Electrical. Now, I'm just going to draw something very, very simple on layer 0. First thing I'm going to do is a circle, center radius, and using the snap and grid, I'll snap to that point there on that particular wire and click. And then as I drag outwards, I'm going to make that 0.25 radius, and there's my circle. I'm then going to go to the polygon command and do the same again, 4 sides. Center of the polygon will be the center of the circle. So let's do a drag over there, and I can snap to that point there. That's excellent, because snap and grid's on. I'm going to do this circumscribed about the circle, and I'm going to take this out, and I can take it that way, or I can take it that way. I'm going to make the radius of this particular circle 0.5. And there's my symbol that I might use. It's just literally a square and a circle. That's all it is. Nothing special. And you'll see there that it's in context. It's a reasonable size, maybe a little bit big, but I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. So how do I make this into a symbol with data attributes in my AutoCAD electrical drawing? I go to the schematic tab on the ribbon, and right over here on the right hand side, in the other tools, I've got symbol builder. So if I click on that icon there, it now shows me the bits that I can edit when I'm creating my symbol. It's very similar to creating a block in standard vanilla AutoCAD. Now the name of it at the moment is unnamed. Don't worry about that. We're going to select the objects exactly the same as the AutoCAD block command. So there's the objects, right click to confirm, 2 objects selected. I need the insertion point, so I pick point, and I'm going to use the center of the circle, so I'll do a shift and right click there, or remember we've got snap and grid on. Easy. Attribute template, library path. This is going to HYD ISO 125. I don't want it to go there. I want it to go to JIC1, which is our JIC American Imperial Standard Library. Make sure it goes there. Symbol. It's going to be a vertical parent, because what we're using there, if I drag this dialog down, is we're using the vertical lines of the rungs of that wiring ladder. So it's a vertical parent. The lines that need to be edited are vertical. Type, it's going to be a control relay. So everything is done. And what we're going to do there is we're just going to hold it there, and then in the next video and the next drawing, we're going to look at taking this further and editing the attributes in AutoCAD Electrical. So we're still here in our JIC symbol data attributes drawing in the select symbol objects dialog box. We've set all the settings, such as selecting objects, pick point, the library path, the symbol, and the type. So I click on OK now. It takes a few seconds, and what it's loading up there is the symbol builder and the block editor. Now what you can't see just off the screen here is the symbol builder attribute editor. So I'll bring that into the screen, like so. And as you can see, it's a palette, so it tries to resize and dock and things. And what you've also got is the block authoring palette, which is the standard AutoCAD palette, like so. So it's a bit like creating a dynamic block in regular AutoCAD. Now, block authoring wise, we don't actually need to worry about things like flip and alignment and rotation, not in this particular case. So I'm going to close the block authoring palette. It's the symbol builder attribute editor, which is somewhat difficult to say, but you're using that to actually develop the attributes for your block. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select the attributes that we're going to add to this particular block. So we select tag 1. I'm going to hold down Shift or Control to select the other ones that I want. Now I'm going to go all the way through this lot here, like so, all the way down to location. That'll be fine for now. And what we might do as well is we need to make sure, is it an NO, is it an NC, and so on. So we might have contact symbol type there. Is it an NO or is it an NC? And then NC, NO as well. We've got to select that as well. So you might put that in, you might not. I'm not going to in this case because it does get very congested in the symbol builder. So what I'll do now is I'll select Insert Attribute, and it inserts all of them. And as you can see, they're floating around everywhere. So I'm just going to try and position those in a sensible place. So I'll put them there. That'll be fine for now. So they're now all inserted in the block itself. Now, you might want to move some of these. Some of these are obviously a little bit all over the place, so you can actually just select them like that, right-click and move them as you would any other object in an AutoCAD drawing. So I'm going to place those directly underneath using Snap and Grid. These ones here I'm going to place down here to the left. So I'll select those, Make sure I get that other one in there as well. Right click and move. I'm going to click there and I'm going to place those centrally because I've got snap and grid on nice and neatly like that. If I zoom in here, I've got family, catalog, manufacturing assembly code. Make sure you select those, right click and move. Pick a base point there on those, and what we'll do, we'll place those down here, there, like that. So it's a little bit easier to see, and there they are there. So there's my attributes in place. So what I need to do now is click on Done. Displays the Save Symbol Definition dialog box again. Now, I'm saving this as a block. Am I though? I need to W block it out, don't I? It's vertical, control relays, unique identifier, symbol name, file path. So if I W block this out, where's it going to go? We want it just as a block in this drawing for now. Base point, I'm going to pick a point there, make sure I get the right point, so it's going to be there. Icon image is there, name, that's the PNG that you'll see in the symbol library itself, file path where the PNG goes. 7 errors found in the symbol, details. Duplicated attributes, missing values, and so on. We can leave all of that for now and just OK it. I'm going to click on OK. Do you want to insert the symbol after closing the block editor? Yes, please. So there's our symbol there. Notice it's kept the original objects. I'm just going to lock this in here, like that. CR002. I'm going to change that to 100, just so I know which one it is. It's kind of obvious. And you've got manufacturer. You can apply a manufacturer to that. I'm just going to OK it. So when I click on OK now, it will read the project database file, and it will insert that into the drawing. And as you can see, it's done so. This is just a circle and a polygon. I can delete those. They're gone. If I look in here, there's my symbol that I've brought in. Now, you'll notice it hasn't trimmed the wire line. That's because I haven't set it to do that. So in those settings, I could obviously set that, but what I've done is I've set the symbol data attributes to bring that particular symbol in. So if I do that, right click, attributes, I can list and edit the attributes, and there they are. I can edit the attributes if I want to. And as you can see, you can create your own symbol data that's customized in your electrical project. When we created our symbol here, our CR001, we realized that the wire connections weren't updating and the wire wasn't cutting in the center. So what we need to do now is look at the wire connections on this particular block, as in AutoCAD block, and make sure that it updates accordingly. I've created a new drawing, JIC wire connections. Let's add that to the project. So we'll add the active drawing as usual. Do you want to apply the project default values? Yes. And you'll notice that's coming at 001. So again, right click, drawing properties, change that to 03 and enter, and that updates accordingly. Again, good CAD practice to do that. Okay, so let's go and look at our symbol. Now what we've got to do is go to the schematic tab on the ribbon, go back to our other tools, back into Symbol Builder, and the block that we created was this one, VCR1002. So if I click on that, you can see all the details there. I want to make sure that obviously it's in the right JIC1 there. It's a vertical parent and it's a control relay. So I click on OK, and all the editing tools kick in again. I'll close the block authoring palettes like so. Now the reason that it hasn't updated the wires is because we have no wire connections on this just yet. They're right here. So we can see wire connections there, direction, style. So what we need to do is set some new wire connections. So I'm going to go for a top none and insert that wire connection right there. But what I'm going to do is shift and right click and make sure it's on the midpoint snap of the block itself there like that. And then I'm going to press enter. That's the first one added, and there it is there, terminal 1, and it's at the top. Let's select another one now. I want bottom none. I'm going to add that into the drawing as well, and again do a shift and a right click and make sure you've got the midpoint snap and click there as well, and then press enter again to finish. Now we've got those two terminals in there. What we need to do is make sure their properties are correct. So there's the top one. I'm going to click here and go to properties. I want it to justify to the right, going away from the actual block itself like that. And you've got rotation, for example. I can rotate that through 90 degrees if I wish. If I do that and press tab now, that'll update and it'll rotate through 90 degrees. I don't have to have it there. I can leave it at 0 if I want to. It really doesn't matter, because basically what I'm setting here is it's a top connector anyway. Anything else I need to check? Well, let's just have a look down the list. These are all upside down, backward, invisible constants, so they're text attributes. That's not what I'm worried about, so I'll OK that now. Now I'm going to do the same with the bottom one. So there's terminal O2 there. And I'm going to check the properties of that one as well. So I don't insert the wire connection, it's that one there, properties. And again, we're going to justify that one, and we're going to change that to left. I want it going to the left, away from the block again. And I'll update that by clicking on OK. Now that's terminal O2. Can you see it's moved slightly there? It's a bit odd. So I'm just going to check that and make sure that it's right. It is, it's gone to the left. That's fine, that's okay. Just making sure the justifications are correct. Now, if I click on top here, can you see I can adjust the properties of that? Or can I? Because it's a top wire connection, I cannot change the direction attributes for the properties. What I can change, if I just close that, is the actual setting there. So I've got a top connection and I've got a bottom connection. They're in place now. Let's have a look. Link lines. Do I need to add any of these? So if I go direction top like that, do I need a link line in there? Well, what I can do is I can insert a link line. And again, I'm going to do a shift and a right click, and I'm going to go to midpoint snap again and pop a link line in there like that and press enter. And then I'm going to add a link line at the bottom like so, add that, and that's going to come in there, shift and right click and midpoint snap as well. And I'll make sure I get the midpoint snap there and then press enter to confirm. So I've now added everything that I need for this particular block. So I go close block editor, make sure it's a block in the drawing itself. Just do the base point again. You don't need to, but just sanity check again, just make sure you've done it. Unique identifier, I'm going to change that 002 there to ACADE, AutoCAD Electrical. Press tab, and you can see that's easy to spot now in the drawing. There's some errors there, some missing required attributes, things like XREF number and contact, NC, NO. I shouldn't need to worry about those in this case, so I'll OK that now. It's telling me the icon image already exists. That's the PNG file here, VCR002. Do I want to overwrite? No, I don't. What I want to do is change that there again to ACADE, like that, and then OK it. Do you want to insert the symbol? Yes, I do. So I come in here, pick a new rung like that, click, and you can see that updating and cutting the wires now. CR002 is fine, click on OK, and because I've updated the wire connections now, you can see it's trimmed back the wire when I insert the new customized symbol. Nice and easy, just needed to update the block settings for that symbol. When we're working in AutoCAD Electrical, the majority of the time you'll be working on either panel drawings or schematic drawings. When you're working on a schematic drawing, you will be using the schematic icon menus most of the time because you'll be using standardized blocks that have been created for your particular standard, whether that be JIC, Imperial American, or IEC, European Metric. So let's put our drawing into the project. I've created JIC schematic icon menus. So what we'll do there is we'll click on the project, right click, add the active drawing and apply the project default values. As you can see, we need to renumber the sheet there. So we do properties on the drawing itself, change that to 004 and update it nice and neatly. Make sure you do it. Get into the habit of doing that. As I cannot stress enough, very important CAD practice to make sure that your drawings are linked to your project. So we're in our drawing, schematic icon menus. We'd go to the schematic tab on the ribbon, and there's our icon menu there. But if we click on the down arrow, you'll see that we've got a catalog list, we've got an equipment list, we've also got a panel list, and we've also got terminal panel list as well. So we can add from any of these lists. The icon menu inserts a component you select from the menu. So you can pick an insertion point on the drawing and orientate it in the drawing. Catalog list inserts schematic components from a defined list of components with catalog assignments. So if I went to catalog list, what would happen? Well, it would show me what's in the catalog list. So you can see there I've got some relays, some pilot lights, some motors, and so on. Let's have a look at the next one down. If I went to the equipment list, again, it gives me a list of MDBs that I can go and look for a spreadsheet file or an MDB file. So you can see there's different ways of inserting your schematics. But the most commonly used one is the icon menu. The reason is it's all very much direct, in your face, exactly what it does on the tin kind of scenario. So what we've got here is things like push buttons, relays, contacts, fuses, transformers, and so on. So I might want to add, let's say, a relay coil. So if I bring that in now, there's my relay coil there. I'll line that in there and click. CR003 is the component tag. I can go and look up a particular manufacturer, let's say. So I'll go for that one there. OK that. OK again. And it updates accordingly based on whatever settings I've got in the project and in the drawing. So that's why you would use your icon menus. They're very quick and very easy, and they just work because you can see exactly what you're inserting into your electrical drawing. So let's have a look at that one more time. So we'll go to the icon menu again. I'll pick something different this time. Let's go for a push button. And I'll go for a push button normally closed, momentary there. And you can see there, if I hover over that wire there, zoom in a bit, just get the snap and the grid working and click. PB004 is the component tag. I'll OK that. And you'll see there, because it's got that little line on there, it is a normally closed push button rather than this one here that is normally open. The line's in a different place. So they are basically blocks with attributes, but what they're doing is they're linking to the database in the project itself. So all of these, as long as they've got catalog data attached to them, will come up in the bills and materials when you generate reports. And more importantly, if you export that data out to something like an XLS or an MDB file, the data goes across as well. So you can see how that works with your schematic icon menus. As per the schematic icon menus, when you're generating a panel drawing, you would also use the panel icon menus. Now, we've got a drawing set up, as you can see, JIC, panel icon menu there. So I'll go to the project, right-click, add the active drawing, yes to that, and just quickly update the drawing properties there to make sure that the sheet number is correct. So let's drop that in like that. That's done. Now, I've got a panel enclosure in place there, just a basic one. And what I'm going to do now is add some panel icons from the panel icon menu. Now, it's not on the schematic tab on the ribbon, it's on the panel tab. And you can see here, it's a very similar environment. So I'm clicking on the down arrow here, icon menu. Again, you've got schematic list, manual, manufacturer menu, catalog list, and also equipment list. Very similar to the schematic icon menu, but if I go icon menu for panels, you'll notice on the actual box that appears, the symbols are somewhat different. I've still got push buttons, selector switches and so on, but what I'm looking at now are footprints that I'm placing onto the panel. So if I was going to insert a push button, let's say a push button normally open. Slightly different, I'm inserting a footprint, I'm not inserting a schematic symbol. What I'm inserting is a symbol that represents what that push button will actually look like on the panel. So if I do a catalog lookup now, it'll go and look in the database for me, find all the ones that exist. So I'll go for, let's say, that one there. It's red, 2 normally open, 2 normally closed. If I click on OK now, that's in place. There's the manufacturer and the catalog number. I'll OK that now. And it thinks about it for a while now. What it's doing is it's going through the database, checking all of that information, and it's bringing it into the drawing. Notice the wildcard match there? Now it's asking for a location point for that footprint for that push button. Now what I'll do is I'll make sure that snap and grid are on. It makes my life a bit easier. I can snap exactly to a grid like that and click. And now it's asking me for the rotation. You can see that down there on the command line. I press enter and there it is. There's the manufacturer. I might give it an item number. So this is a push button, so you might say it's PB001, for example. And you might give it a description, something like push button. Now we did cover this earlier, but what I want to do is just get across how important all of this information is, because it's showing all the ratings of that push button, the switch positions, drawing, project, group, everything's in there. So I click on OK, and it inserts that information like so. So if I zoom in like that, there's my push button. Very, very easy. But it's not a symbol like it would be on a schematic drawing. It's actually showing what that push button would look like. And it'd be the same with something like a pilot light as well. If I went back to the icon menu, and I went for pilot lights this time, and I want, let's say, a green light. Catalog lookup again. There's them there. So I click there, click on OK, adds that information. brings it all in, click on OK. It's looking in the database file for the pilot light. It takes a little while. It's searching that database to find the information. There's my pilot light there. So I'll just bring that in there and click. It's asking for rotation. I press enter and I'll just OK that now. And you'll see, look, GN, green. And there's my push button with the RE on it like that. So all I'm doing there is I'm just setting up my panel to show the actual physical objects on the panel. That's why the panel icon menus are subtly different to the schematic icon menus. Let's have a look now at the icon menu wizard. Now there's one of these for both panel drawings and for schematic drawings. I'm in the schematic tab at the moment on the ribbon. And if I go over here to other tools right at the end here and click there, you can see there's the icon menu wizard there. Same with panel. There's the icon menu wizard there, again in the other tools panel. I'm going to use the schematic tab this time because I've got a schematic in the drawing there. That's my icon menu wizard drawing that I've set up. So let's add that first to the project. So select the project, right click, add the active drawing. Yes to that, and that updates, and the sheet number is correct, 006. Schematic tab on the ribbon, as I mentioned earlier, and then over to other tools here, and icon menu wizard. I want to edit a particular menu file for my icon menu. So it's going to be schematic, which is use default here, ACEIEC menu.dat. I don't want the panel one, I want the schematic one because I'm using the schematic tab. Click on OK, and it looks remarkably familiar, doesn't it? It looks just like the icon menu. It is, but we're in the wizard. See at the top there? I'm going to go into miscellaneous and into user circuits. And you'll see there's a whole load of user circuits in place already. I'm going to add a new circuit, so I go add circuit there. And the name of this one will be icon menu wizard. And what we'll do, we'll use lowercase there. It looks better on the actual icon menu itself, like so. And the image file, well, I don't have an image file right now. So what I can do, I can browse for one. Nothing in there, so I'll cancel that. I can pick one. I can pick a block if I want to, or something like that. That's if I'm adding just one particular component to the icon menu for schematics. I'm not, so I'm going to hit escape there. I'm going to use the active view. And you'll notice now you can see the view of our circuit in our drawing, and the image file has the name of the drawing. I'm going to create a PNG from that current screen image. And then I'm going to zoom in. Notice I'm zoomed in already there, nice and neatly, so I'll press enter. That's all up to speed. Circuit name to insert. So is there a file name that I need here? I can browse for one, and I can browse for a drawing. I don't need to because it's already in the drawing. I can go active and it finds the file name straight away. So it's all ready to go. All I've got to do is click on OK. It tells me there's one already in there, a PNG. That's no problem. I'll say yes to overwriting that. And there's my icon menu wizard. So I've got a new circuit that I can add from the icon menu. So I'll click on OK there now. And that's in the icon menu ready to be used. I'm just going to zoom out now and just move my circuit down a bit like that. I now go back to the schematic tab, click on icon menu, go to miscellaneous here and user circuits, and there's my icon menu wizard. So circuit scale, I want that to be 1. Move all lines to wire layers, keep any fixed wire numbers, and so on and so forth. I'm going to update the circuit's text layers as required. Click on OK. And there's my new circuit. So what I've done there is I've taken a circuit I've already created and put it into the icon menu wizard so that I can use it over and over again. Saves me having to recreate that circuit all the time. It's the same with any symbol component that you create on a schematic drawing. You can also do this for your panels. So once you've got a panel layout organized and in place, you can go to the icon menu wizard for panels, and then that panel layout can be used over and over again. I'm just going to drop this as close as possible to that one for now. You'll notice it's updating and doing a wire cleanup, and you'll notice it's cleaning up the wires. The reason it's cleaning up the wires there is it's adhering to the project settings. It's not a problem. What I'll do there is I'll just do a regen just to check that it hasn't removed anything it shouldn't have. And you can see it's regenerating the model, and that's the way it's come through in this particular case, because it's tidied up those wires that it thought it didn't need. Not a problem. We don't have to do that cleanup if we don't want to. We can change that in the settings when we insert the block itself, or in this case, the circuit. But that's the icon menu wizard in AutoCAD Electrical. It's very neat because you can replicate things that you've used again and again, and it makes you more productive and more efficient. When you're working with AutoCAD Electrical, there are schematic and panel database files available. These can actually be edited locally from AutoCAD Electrical. However, it's not common practice, but what I want to show you is how you would do it. I've set up a separate drawing, schematic and panel database files. So what we'll do, we'll click on the project and add the active drawing as usual. And we'll make sure it's numbered appropriately as well. So we'll go properties, drawing properties, make sure that that is sheet 007 and add that to the list. Again, good CAD practice, make sure you get into that. Now we're in the current drawing. There's the schematic tab right there. If you go right to the end to other tools where things like Symbol Builder and the icon menu wizard are, there's this little icon here. Click on the down arrow there and you'll see you've got things like the PLC database file editor, the electrical standards database editor, and so on. And you've got the schematic editor. So if I click on that one there, it shows me the schematic lookup database, the MDB file, manufacturer, catalog, and assembly code. Now I'm going to quit that because I don't want to make any changes to it. That's my day-to-day data that I use on a regular basis from all of the libraries that I use in AutoCAD Electrical. I don't want to make any changes. But things like PLCs, for example, we'll look at PLCs later on in the course. But if I click on that there, it goes and looks up the database file editor for me. And there's all the different manufacturers and they go in the database. So if I click on the plus sign next to ABB and then go and pick a particular model, let's say of PLC, I've got analog combination, analog input, analog output. If I click on analog combination there, now it takes a few minutes and the information is there. And if I keep clicking down, you'll see I get even more plus signs. So if I click there and then go for that particular one there, there's all the data. Now there's a lot of data in here. These databases can be huge. So what you want to make sure is that you don't edit any of the standard data. This is specialist territory. You need to be what they call a DBA, a database analyst, to edit all of this data. You don't want to give this to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. I'm not a DBA. I'm just showing you where this information is, just in case you need to use it. So what I'll do here is I'll just click on Done. I haven't made any changes to the PLCs, but you can obviously go and edit that information. Now, again, it's the same with your panel tab. If we go to other tools here and click here, you've got footprint database file editor. So you can edit the catalog number, footprint, block name, lookup file. Now you don't want to edit that information again, and that's for panel footprints in this case. Whichever one you want to do, panel or schematic, there's schematic again. It's in the other tools and on this little icon here. So you can edit information. So terminal properties, for example, if I click there, select the type or manufacturer, click on edit, and that'll bring up the database now for the terminal properties for the manufacturer AB. There's the manufacturer name, the catalog name, levels, level description, upper, lower, wire connections, and so on. I'll quit there. And these are just MDB files, Microsoft Access Database files. But you do need to have a certain specialism to edit them. I would never go in and edit the default MDB files because they're what I need every single day to create an effective project in AutoCAD Electrical.